All right, it says we are live now. Today we're going to talk about the Witcher 3, episode 3 of season 1 of The Witcher. And there seems to be a little bit of delay, so we'll see if I can get it. All right, so I do see us up here. So The Witcher on Netflix is premiering either in October, November, or December 2019. That's what they're telling us. And we really know every episode, the main plots of every episode. That's because they are basing it on the short stories of the Last Wish book and also the Sword of Destiny book. The episode 3 is not the pilot. It's not the first episode. It's actually the episode that is uh, is going to was the first actual short story that Andrzej Sapkowski wrote about the Witcher world and about the Witcher Geralt of Rivia. And it's going to deal with the Striga battle that Geralt has on behalf of King Foltest. So they're going to make the first episode about the lesser evil and the Butcher of Blaviken story, but the third episode is going to introduce Geralt to the Striga Adda. So it starts out, the short story starts out in Vizima, I believe, and Geralt gets in a fight, and he actually uh, kills 3 people. He gets hauled in front of the local authorities, and the local authorities say they're going to look past it, but they need somebody to kill a Striga. And King Foltest wants the Striga to be the Striga is like a monster. It's a young girl that's been turned into a monster, and they're really fast. They're really strong. They're really vicious. They come out at night, and this one was the girl Adda, who died in childbirth by the mother of the same name, who happened to be King Foltest's sister, and King Foltest is her dad. So it was a child of incest, dead at birth, but somehow was cursed and reborn as a Striga, and now is terrorizing the kingdom of Temeria. And the king doesn't have the heart to kill his daughter. He wants to have her cured, but he's not been able to find anybody to do that so far. So the wise men of Temeria would like to have her killed. So essentially, Geralt will have several offers. Initially, he has 2 offers: one to kill her secretly against the wishes of the king, and one to save her by lifting the curse. And to lift the curse, you need to spend the night with the Striga, the monster, in the monster's crypt, and at the, I think, third crowing of the cock, if you're still in there and still alive, you can lift the curse of the Striga. And that's what Geralt is going to set out to do. So in episode 3, which is featured in the trailer, you can see these clips here from the official tease that happened right before San Diego Comic-Con. You see the relevant clips and you can also see the Battle of the Striga with the cinematic trailer for the Witcher 1 video game. So the original Witcher video game that came out in 2007, this was their cinematic trailer. So if you're a fan of the video games, they take place after the books, but supposedly Adda has had a relapse, and in The Witcher 1, he has to lift the curse again. But in the original Witcher short story, which is in the Last Wish book of short stories, Geralt is meeting Adda for the first time, it's that red-haired demon that keeps on with the big claws, and he tries to lift the curse. So he uses all his tools at his disposal. There's another gentleman. I'll get the names for you, that tries to bribe Geralt, and he gives a better price than I think either Foltest or uh, at least is almost as good as Foltest, but definitely better than the wise men of Vizima who wanted to uh, him to kill the Striga. The the fat gentleman that you see in the picture, uh, his role in the short story by Andrzej Sapkowski was to try to bribe Geralt to not lift the curse or not kill the Striga because it was weakening King Foltest's rule, and they wanted to destabilize King Foltest. Uh, so his weak spot was, illuminating his incest, and also illuminating his bad rule and allowing monsters to run over the kingdom and take over one of the palaces. So the Striga Adda had taken over the palace, one of the old palaces. Was if she continued to stay alive and not uncursed, then that would make it easier to overthrow King Foltest. Okay, so King Foltest turns out to be a pretty nice guy, even though you think because of the whole deal with his sister Adda and then his daughter Adda, that he's probably a pretty bad guy, just kind of like Jaime Lannister. You'd think he'd be a pretty bad guy, but when you get to know him, he seems like he's not so bad, and maybe a decent ruler by the Northern Kingdom standards. And so he's not really a guy you'd want to destabilize, at least from the way it's portrayed. He seems pretty with it and pretty smart and pretty even-handed. And in the end, Geralt uses his silver chain and is able to sleep inside the sarcophagus, safe from the Striga, overnight. And as dawn breaks in, he sees that the Striga Adda has turned back into an adolescent girl. Unfortunately, he doesn't notice that her hands are still claws, and he gets his neck clawed very badly. And that's what you're seeing in the trailer and in the thumbnail, is that you see Geralt is trying to recover from his wounds from the Battle of the Striga, because he came out of the sarcophagus too early, because he thought the curse had been lifted, but there was still part of her body that was cursed, and she attacked him, and he almost died. And then for much of the short story book, his wounds were tended in the intermissions between the short stories by this Madame Nenneke. I don't believe that Madame Nenneke, who's a priestess, I don't think she's going to be in the show. I think that what we see is a patched up Geralt being treated by Triss. And Triss used to be in the court of King Foltest while he was still a king. But so it would make sense that she would provide kind of medical aid to him instead of Madame Nenneke. And this is also a way to kind of build their relationship, which in the books it is hinted at that they have a one night stand, and Triss uses magic maybe to seduce him. But she would like to have a longer relationship in the saga Blood of Elves, which is probably not going to be covered in the season 1 of the Netflix series. And so she is playing the role of Madame Nenneke, and the sorceresses really, a lot of the way that they make money is providing medical services. So it's not out of character for a sorceress to play doctor. And so that's the case here I believe you see from the trailer, is that the actress for Triss is playing the role of doctor or nurse to Geralt of Rivia, and this is probably a convenient way also to introduce their relationship. So by episode 3, Yennefer will not have met Geralt, and Geralt will have also not met Ciri. Ciri will not be born by episode 3. So it wouldn't be a betrayal of Yennefer if they did have some sort of relationship. And I believe maybe episode 4, where we get to the actual story, The Last Wish, where Yennefer meets Geralt of Rivia and they fall in love in their weird way. So I'll save that for another time, but we'll talk through the season 1, episode 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 leaks before the season starts. I think the other kind of news that we saw about the Netflix series recently is that Netflix has made an announcement, not in reference to The Witcher per se, but that they are going to release some original content in weekly formats like other networks, and so that it's possible that The Witcher will be released one episode a week. Hopefully, so the buzz builds for the next episode, and that's been kind of a criticism of having such a big show on Netflix, is that you dump it all at once and there's no time for the buzz to build between the weeks and the water cooler discussions to happen. So we will see if we get all 8 at once, or if we get all 8 over 8 weeks. Until next time, I'm Linus Wilson. I cover medieval fantasy TV shows, such as the Game of Thrones sequel, Blood Moon, and whenever Lord of the Rings comes out, we'll probably cover that too. Bye for now. Subscribe and leave a comment in the chat. Let's just see if there's any comments in the chat right before I head out. Don't see any. Talk to you later. Bye.